Now that I got some of that pesky real life out of the way, I'm finally getting to review Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I absolutely love the first one. Easily my favourite entry into the MCU. I love its themes of friendship and the characters just bounce off each other with such great chemistry. I can't wait for this one. I wonder what it'll be about.
I'm your dad, Peter.
Oh, it's about fathers. Strained relationships with fathers. Must resist urge to make dad jokes. Suck it down, GGTV. I can do this. I actually think I can do this. I might even be able to get through this whole review without making a single joke about me and my dad. In fact, really, if you think about it, I don't need to make one. Our relationship is a joke enough. Oh, fuck, honestly, it's like a goddamn nervous twitch. Questionable childhood aside for one second, I really rather enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy 2. The franchise continues to be the most colourful, visually creative and well directed of all the MCU series, and while I still vastly prefer the first and I have my issues with this one, for the most part I had a great time. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 carries on where the first left off, with the group of intrepid misfits, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, Star-Lord and a new Baby Groot wandering the planet with a stronger, more established friendship as the official Guardians of the Galaxy team. Oh, and just a side point, by the way, this has nothing to do with the review, it's just my personal reading of the franchise's films. I did say new Baby Groot. I choose to believe that this Groot is an entirely new character from the one in the old film, as that makes the first film's sacrifice way more heroic and poignant. Sure, you can argue this little Baby Groot grew from the old one, but you know, that's how a lot of plant life works, and you wouldn't say a dandelion that grows from a dead dandelion seed is in any way the same flower as the dead one. Plus also this new Groot shows absolute naivety and seems to be learning things anew again, and a gag post-credit scene shows a brief teen version of this Groot, suggesting at least to me that this is an entirely new life cycle. Anyway, side point over. Now it's in these characters that the movie flourishes. Its main faults lie in plotting, structure and the occasional exposition-heavy dialogue, which I'll get to later, but the characters of Guardians are so perfectly nurtured and executed that even when the film has these flaws, it is impossible to not have fun. It's like spending time with old friends. It's not even that they are just good characters either, it's that the movie gets them, it understands how they work, how they function, what makes them tick, and where they are within this story. You know, Iron Man's a good character, but he's had movies that can't work off the back of that alone. Guardians works because the writer clearly understands the souls of this group. It's interesting, but they've managed to make a raccoon, a tree, and a handful of aliens the most human presence in all of the MCU. They feel more like people than the people do. It's great stuff. Let me just give an example of a moment where a character truly shines. Now I'm going to get into a little bit of spoilers here, but let's face it, that doesn't really matter since everyone and their dog has seen this movie by this point. I am late to this party. A bit like how my dad was late to my own birth, am I right? I'm just joking, that's not true. He was there, I just wish he wasn't. Anyway, Guardians 2 features a new individual called Mantis who has a power where she can feel others' emotions via touch. In one of the film's more candid moments, Drax confides in her about how much he missed his deceased daughter. Mantis touches him and immediately bursts into a profoundly painful sorrow while Drax continues to sit, unflinching and stoic. That's stellar stuff, you know, it really humanises Drax. In the films up to this point, he's kind of been the goofy dumb tough guy, and then in this moment, you really get the sense that he's hurting. It also alludes to this notion that Drax can never truly be happy. It's compelling stuff, and this scene gets even better when you recall earlier in the movie that Mantis does the same thing to him while he's surrounded by his friends, and she doesn't even get the slightest hint of this deeper sadness. Yeah, granted, it's because he's laughing his ass off at Quill's expense, but the message this gives, at least to me, is that his friends, or rather his new family, provide him with all the love he needs, and it's only in the moments where he's alone that he really suffers, and it says all this without ever beating you over the head with it, since at face value, those scenes aren't even related. And almost all of the major characters get a moment of profound exploration. Quill is explored through the relationship with his dad. Yondu and Rocket have a wonderful exchange where they tear away each other's hardened facades. Gamora and Nebula get the exploration of their sisterhood. It's all really genuinely good stuff in my eyes. At times there's moments that even surpass the original. So what's my problem with it then? Well, not much happens. And the stuff that does happen doesn't always feel earned as a result. The structure of this movie feels as disconnected as I do to my dad sometimes. You got a great, admittedly exposition-heavy opening hook where Baby Groot gets a visually stunning and well-directed dance while a fight sequence goes on in the background. The film starts to get going and then Peter meets his dad, nice big holy shit point there, and then they separate and sort of go on their own little isolated set pieces or just chill on the planet for ages until the third act finally comes into play. It's a little disjointed, whereas comparatively, the first film felt like a series of logical sequences. I mean, if I'm not making sense, think of it this way. Let's just go through the plot points Peter Quill has to go through in the first movie before he gets to the third act. 1. He witnesses his mother die as a child. 2. He's kidnapped by Yondu. 3. He grows up to take on the mantle of Star-Lord and steals a priceless artifact. 4. He goes to the city where his artifact is stolen from him and engages in a chase. 5. The chase gets him thrown in prison where he meets his new friends and they have a cool prison escape sequence. 6. Quill and his group flee to nowhere and learn about the artifact's power. 7. Ronan attacks, forcing the group to flee. 8. Quill saves Gamora from dying in space. 9. They get kidnapped by the Ravagers again before convincing them to help fight Thanos. And then 10. Third act. Now comparatively, let's look at what he goes through in Guardians 2. 1. He fights a big monster only semi-related to the rest of the plot. 2. He leaves the planet and crashes when the Sovereign race attack him. 3. He meets his dad Ego and bonds on a barren planet for the next 30 to 40 minutes before the reveal. And then third act. Drax goes through the same, Gamora does too, aside from a fight with her sister. Baby Groot, Rocket and Yondu get their own thing to do, but it feels weirdly detached from everything happening on Ego's planet. It's a weird creative choice really to make a film about friendship, then separate the friends. It's like if Back to the Future split Doc and Marty up for the whole middle section. Everybody feels like they're killing time till the story happens, and it's this structure that causes problems. Rocket's whole arc is that he's pushing away from his friends, for example, but he's only with them for the opening anyway, so we never really get to see the consequences of that. I also feel like earning his repentance at the end should have come after he was mean to Groot. I know, boo, I'm a godless heathen for wanting to hurt this precious little angel. He is fucking adorable, to be fair. But I just feel like if Rocket had snapped at Groot, then came to the realization that he was really fucking things up and pushing people away when he saw that beautiful little disheartened face, then his clawback to the top would have felt way more earned. The structure also makes the ending twist that Quill's dad is a shithead real predictable. Because if he isn't, the movie would just end without a villain. For the first 3/4 of the film, the closest thing we have to an antagonist is Blue Doctor Who companion, who doesn't really do anything till the end, the gold-painted equivalent of the Tory party, who don't appear for the whole middle act, a monster killed in the opening 5 minutes, and a drawn-out punchline about a dude with a silly name. Ha! He's called Taserface! Do you get it? It's funny because he thinks he's scary, but that's not a scary name! Ha 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 ha! Japes. It's so funny, innit? So funny, in fact, let's repeat the joke 7 more times. It's not like we already had this exact joke with the name Star-Lord in the first film. So anyway, of course Ego turned out to be a massive douche. I mean, dads always let you down. Duh. The jokes make it hurt less. That said, to its credit, the villain is class, and when that third act hits, I've got almost no complaints. It's a little bullshit how he literally just tells us the big reveal with a statement so obnoxiously evil he might as well have ended it with, and by the way, your mum had a puppy too and I kicked it to death. But that aside, he might be one of the best villains the MCU have ever done. Granted, that's not saying much since this sentient turd would have been better than some of the franchise's bad guys, but he is very good, and he's one thing that the sequel clearly improves upon. A villain works best as the antithesis of the protagonist. Star-Lord fights for love, whereas his father fights for selfishness. Ego's presence upped the personal stake and allowed the film to explore its core idea, which no other villain could sell within the narrative. The ending fight I felt could have been a little more imaginative, since two gods going at it I really thought would see some Gurren Lagann level craziness with each of them spawning universes to frisbee at each other rather than just some rock arms and a quick Pac-Man gag. But at the end of the day I can deal without having that because that's just fluff, and the film's ending sentiment, the true story down in the core of it all, was something special. That one line, he might have been your father but he ain't your daddy, is fucking perfection. And everything about that father-figure relationship at the back end of this movie is so brilliant it might be worth the price of the ticket alone. Yes, I do have my nitpicks with it, and there's other Marvel movies I haven't enjoyed as much that I have praised more, but that's only because I hold Guardians of the Galaxy to such a high standard, and that's because when James Gunn, and on the first film Nicole Perlman, write stories with these characters properly, they can write ones with moments like this film's climax, where absolutely everything works. The message, the relationships, the closing moments with the funeral, it's all straight up brilliant, and although for me that middle act really drags its feet a fair bit, this closing segment is just perfection. While not as consistently great throughout or as fresh and new as the first movie, I still think the positives outweigh the negatives, and I really think we can all take something from the core idea this film presents, and it's one that really resonates with me. So just because I think it's so important and it's the key reason behind my praise for this film, I'm going to close this review by summing up that core idea right now in a single sentence. Dads suck. Jokes aside and talking out of character though, the film's actual message rings true. Family is end in love, not in blood, and I feel like anything that spreads that message is worth celebrating in spite of its flaws. Have a nice day.